This is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This video is part of a care collaboration with Gavin of the NotAnotherBonsaiChannel channel. And it's basically, people have been asked to basically go round the question, what is a bonsai? Now I'm just going to have a quick chat about that as a subject, and then we'll get the camera down and have a look at some of my trees, which is a very limited collection, but it's enough to hopefully demonstrate by looking at the concepts that I believe come into this subject. Now if you go back to original translations, then depending on which country you go to, bearing in mind the word bonsai is the same in Japanese and Chinese, and it's the only word that is so, I believe. Depending on where you get your translation and how far back you go, bonsai basically means tree in a pot. But if you go back far enough, it just means plant in a pot. Yeah? Those are original translations. Now the subject is such that most people believe the Japanese thought up bonsai as a concept. This is incorrect, the Chinese did. The Japanese then decided that they liked the idea, took it and stylized it into what is believed to be a true art form. And some of the bonsai in Japan are family heirlooms. They have no value. It would be impossible to put a value on them. They are worth so much, and they are old trees, hundreds of years old. Yeah? But then the Chinese thought they liked this idea and they could make money out of it, so they took it back again and commercialized it. And you see fields of thousands and thousands of tiny tree cuttings stuck in the ground, and then somebody comes along and sticks a stick in and bends this, and it ends up in a little pot in your supermarket for a few pounds. So that's what's going on the business side of things. Now, from our point of view on YouTube, we are what would commonly be known as hobbyists or enthusiasts. Some people are passionate about the subject, but nonetheless we have varied collections in both size and content. My collection is small. I don't plan on getting it much bigger, and there's a reason for that. Now, I believe that bonsai is an art form, and I also believe that as such it's highly unlikely that 500 trees in a back garden all individually constitute a bonsai. They're not going to be what I consider to be a bonsai. But what I'm really getting at, for me, a bonsai is heading towards a finished tree. Now don't forget, bonsai can never be finished. They're never finished. I remember Corinne of Greenwood actually doing a demo at a society I once belonged to, and he said, give me any tree. You can give me the tree that's just won best in show, and give me 5 minutes and I'll make it better. And then he demoed that and he was right. So my idea of a bonsai is heading towards a finished tree, not a stick in a pot, not a starter tree, not a young tree. Just because it's gone in a bonsai pot doesn't make it a bonsai, not to me. So I'll put my coffee down and I will demonstrate the sort of thing I mean. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is pan round the garden. Something should already be triggering in your mind as to my idea of what bonsai is to me in my garden. We'll get there. Right, we'll start by looking at this tree. This tree has its own place, on its own stand, in a corner where it catches the early morning light, and at that time of day the bamboo behind it seems quite dark, and it lights up against that dark background. It has a prominent place in my garden design. Yeah, my bonsai are not just standalone isolation type objects, they're part of an overall design. That's why there aren't 30 on a bench all squashed up together. That to me wouldn't be part of a garden design. So anyway, that's my European hornbeam. That is not a finished bonsai. It will never be a brilliant bonsai, but nonetheless it can be called a bonsai in my eyes. It's got age, it's in a nice pot, it's got its own display stand, it hasn't got a decent apex, and it's got some handlebar bars. Nonetheless, it's a bonsai. Now if we come over here, my beech tree has some age, European beech. This tree is starting to get some reasonable ramification. So it's starting to head towards being a bonsai. I would still call it a bonsai as it is. However, the copper beech next to it, I don't consider that a bonsai. That's just a young tree that's been stuck in a bonsai pot. It will be a bonsai, but it'll take work. And therein comes the difference, I think. A bonsai to me is something that's had a fair amount of work over a fair amount of time. Then we've got a couple of little ones next door. That little juniper isn't a bonsai yet, but it can be in the future. It's had little done to it. It's in a pot full of moss, which is taking the edge off its appearance. The little larch next door is a young tree. Nonetheless, it's heading towards being allowed, in my book, to be called a bonsai. It's got some shape. It still needs quite a bit of work. Behind it is what I consider a bonsai. This is a Scots pine that I collected quite a lot of years ago. I've done quite a bit of work on it. I haven't done any work on it this year. It's a nice damselfly flitting around. You might catch a glimpse of it. Nonetheless, it's got distinct pads that are losing their shape. That shape will come back when I deal with this year's candles, which will then generate back budding. It's got a lovely shari down through it. I've nicknamed it Lightning Strike because it does look a bit like it's had a whack with a bolt of lightning. It's got a good trunk on it, nice gnarly bark. I like that tree. I consider that a bonsai. It's not finished. Never will be. My Japanese white pine has been left to grow this year, and boy has it done that. All these are new needles. So now it's lost its shape. It doesn't look like a good bonsai anymore. It's got a nice trunk. It's got some branch structure. I haven't finished selecting the branches yet, so I don't call that a bonsai yet. Plenty of work to be done on that. This is a bonsai. Why? Because you can picture that tree existing in a massive form. So this is a miniaturized version of what a real tree could look like. I'll say in the wild, but you know what I mean. At the bottom of somebody's garden as a feature plant. But it looks like a proper tree. This is a bonsai, but not at the moment. Why not at the moment? Because it didn't get its June trim. So it's been allowed to do this. All this needs cutting off. And in doing so, I'll get my negative space back, and then it will become a bonsai. Unfortunately, this has had some scorch. But that's a bonsai. That tree's 70, 80 years old. I didn't do all the work, obviously. I'd have had to start before I was born, or not long after. And it's on its own stand. It gets its own pride of place, where I can see it out of my kitchen window. Every time I look down the garden, I see that tree. And in the late afternoon, it's lit up by the sunshine. And the fact that it gets some sunshine, it will have lovely autumn colour. So now, hopefully, you can sort of see what I'm getting at. I consider a bonsai, a true bonsai, to be some representation of a tree that could exist in the wild. And it's a miniature representation of that full-grown, mature tree. There we go. That's my take on what I believe is a bonsai, and just remember it's an art form. If you had a piece of art that was a painting, it would have pride of place on your wall. If you had a sculpture, it would have a special place in your garden, perhaps an alcove dedicated to that shape. So that's my stint. Thanks for letting me join in, Gavin. I hope the project is a success, and I'll see you all sometime, perhaps back over on my channel. Bye for now.